Hi everyone. This is another video in my series of unscripted game engine walkthroughs. This time around I'll be taking a look at GameMaker, which was requested in a poll that I had posted previously. So I'll see how far I can get, having no previous experience with GameMaker, and let's see how it goes. So I had previously downloaded and installed GameMaker and kind of let it sit around for a while, so it's prompting me to update to a new version, so I'll go ahead and do that now. And it brings up the release notes when I do that. And there's a little summary up here about the changes related to licensing fixes and single sign-on. So we'll have to see what kind of user management system they have going on here. So now I'm presented with a dashboard view, and up top it looks like I've got a notable setup wizard where I'm at step 1 through 4 to get started with a new project. And then over on the right, I can see that it wants me to, or requests that I sign in with my GameMaker or Opera account. Okay, so you can log in with Opera. That's interesting. Or if you have a legacy account. So they mentioned that in the release notes. Let's see how far I can get without signing in and see if that's possible. Okay, so we'll go to the setup wizard. I'm going to close this, but I do want them to show me again. So then it replaces that with some asset bundles. And there are also some advertisements over here. And tutorials, open and import. So let's go ahead with new. And a game does seem appropriate for GameMaker. I can do a blank game, or I can do some sample templates here. So it looks like a top-down, okay, hack and slash, a little arcade style game. Tower defense. That's cool. That might be fun to try one of these later, but we'll go with that blank game. Okay, we'll give a name, my first GameMaker game. Oh, and I should say that the capitalization is such that G and M are capitalized. I will do that for consistency. I've noticed there's a cancel or a let's go button. That seems to be the requisite phrase to use if you're indicating your agreement with something these days. So when in Rome, let's go. Okay, wow. I think it created the project. That was quick. Almost too quick. So, yeah, I'm what I've been used to with Unreal and Unity is there's going to be a little bit of a lengthier setup time. So for a user coming from one of those and trying GameMaker, the speed actually, which is a feature, may be confusing because you're like, well, did it do it? So I'm assuming that the project is created. So we've got like a blur going on in the workspace. So see, maybe it's one of those magic eye things where if you just get your eyes the right way, it'll reveal something. There's over on the right an asset browser. So when I see asset browser, it reminds me of the asset store or other kind of plugins with other systems. So I wouldn't assume that this is similar to the scene view. Room order. Okay, so I'm not going to start there. Let's start in the inspector. I can't right click on it. I've got a little, okay, I can collapse it. I can make, well, I've already made a project. I've got a debug menu or debug button, play, run and stop. And down here I've got breakpoints, source control, search results, compilers. So that's cool. Breakpoints plus that debug button makes me think they have an integrated debugger, which is nice. Source control, if they have innate integration with Git or other source control, that's also a cool feature. So we'll have to see. All right, let's go up to the menus. There's edit, build. Let's just build it and see what happens. We'll run it. The output window is showing me some things that are going by quickly. But I do get the output window of the game with no content as expected. Let's go ahead and create a sprite. Okay, and it's got the, is this a built-in sprite editor? Let's see. Okay, edit image or import. Okay, yeah, here's the built-in sprite editor. And let's get some terrible art. Oop. Yeah. Okay, so I'm done with that. What does this do? Oh, and then animation, so I can animate it right here. Adding other frames. I duplicate frames. Ooh, let's animate it right off the bat here. Okay, so you can change the sprite's origin. I've got it configured to be in the middle center, and that's at 32 by 32 pixels. Looks like the overall dimensions of the sprite are 64 by 64. Got some other settings here. Texture settings. I can tile it. Group it up. And some collision stuff, which I'll take a look at later. And then the 9-slice stuff. So if this was like a UI window or something where I wanted to grow and shrink it but not have the edges scaled differently, I could do that. There's 9-slicing and other tools. So let's close this. And so we've got this in our asset browser now. So it looks like something I can drag in. Oh, that's cool. You can drag it here. You cannot drag it onto the little bar here. I put it into the workspace and it does that. What if I play this? Is that part of my scene? So it's not actually part of the build yet. It's just in the workspace. So I wonder if there's something like a scene that I need to add this to. Let's look around a little bit and see what else we can find here. Favorites, recent, room. Okay, so that's different. So there's a workspace and then there's a room. And open the editor. The editor is open. Okay, layer view. So I'm going to try to figure out what a room is and if I can add things to a room, like a sprite. I can't add a sprite to, okay, this asset can only be applied to an asset layer and you do not currently have one selected. Would you like to create one? Sure. Okay. Oh, and it's kind of locked to the grid. So there is kind of a grid-based room system out of the box here. Now let's see what happens if we play. Okay, so now my asset does appear here in the room view. So I'm trying to figure out if these concepts are analogous, the concept of a room and a level and a scene. Okay, before I add any more stuff to this room, I'm going to see if I can attach some game logic to this asset, a sprite instance. Okay, so the asset is the sprite and there's an instance of it in this room. And my understanding of GameMaker is that they have a scripting language that's unique to GameMaker. Okay, now I did notice over in the asset browser that there is a scripts folder underneath the rooms here. So it looks like we've already added a room. So I'm going to go ahead and add a script here and we can figure out what some of these other things are. So create a particle system room, a script. Oh, looks like I do have a choice. GML Code. Program your game with GML's simple coding syntax and powerful object-oriented language features. Suitable for users learning how to code and advanced programmers skilled in industry standard languages. Or you can use the GML visual. So I'm imagining this is similar to blueprints in Unreal or some of the visual scripting in Unity. I would like to try the code first and maybe try this later. So don't ask again. You can ask again. That's okay. Okay, and it's got some helpful comments. It's put in here, script assets have changed for version 2.3. 2.3. I'm not sure what version number that relates to. My editor, or my IDE seems to be on a different version, so maybe that was a while ago. Here's an article I can look at. Changes to script assets in version 2.3 and above. Okay, previously a script was a single resource that was created on a global scope and used to create a single custom function, which would then be called using the script name as the function name. This is no longer the case, and scripts, while still global in scope, are now a type of container for one or more functions. What this means is that when you compile your project, scripts are no longer called individually, but are actually all run at the start of the game in the global scope. So all variables that are defined in the script outside of function definitions will be considered global. That said, you should still use the global identifier to explicitly define and identify global variables in your code. The reason for this change is that scripts can now contain multiple functions. If you've only used built-in GML code functions in code projects, then the idea of user-defined functions may be something new to you. But think of them as being the same as scripts used to be, only explicitly assigned to a variable and with named arguments. Okay. Looks like I have an example here. So let's look at how to make a script function. Consider this simple script from previous GameMaker versions. Move follow. Okay, so that's previous. And then here's the GML visual. Now, however, this would be defined as a script function like this. Move follow. Okay, so the difference, function definition. Okay, makes sense. And it takes an object and it takes a speed. So I had a default function already included called script1. It seems like some kind of constructor maybe. Follow what I'm used to is like a tick function, so something on an update, like an update loop. Okay, so I did ask ChatGPT, as I have been known to do, and it said that the function that gets called every frame to update game logic is referred to as the step event. While there isn't a function named update in GML, unless you create it yourself, the step event serves a similar purpose to to update functions you might find in other game development environments. Okay, that's helpful. There are actually three main types of step events in GameMaker: the begin step, the step, and the end step. This is called at the beginning of each step before any other processing. This is the main step event. It's equivalent to update functions in the update function in many other engines, and then the end step. Okay. Let's try step then. To utilize these events, in the GameMaker Studio IDE, open the object you want to edit. Okay, so they're saying object. In the events section, you'll find the option to add a new event. Choose the step category. And then pick the specific type of event you want. Okay? You can place your GML code inside the event and it will run every frame or every step in GameMaker terminology. Remember, the actual frame rate or steps per second is defined by the room speed, or in newer versions, this thing. Okay, so it says to find to open the object that you want to edit. So the object I want to edit. Well, I have a room, and then I have some sprites in some assets in that room. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit of a different tactic than I normally do and try out one of those templates. Since this is a little bit different than what I'm used to, that might be a good way to learn. So I'll do a new project, and I'll close this project. And let's go with this this arcade, this asteroid thing. Space rocks. Let's go. Let's go. So I can see that over in this asset browser, there's like a filled in folder. That seems to be the indication that you've added things of that type. So there is a room and there are some sprites. So when I click on the room, got room physics, gravity X. There is gravity Y. That's going to be interesting in an asteroids game. I would not have expected gravity necessarily in that type of game. But maybe they got a different spin on it. Let's play it. Nothing. Okay, let's try another project. Let's try this brick breaker. And I can see this has a few more of those filled in folders. So there's some fonts and objects, rooms and sprites, etc. So let's play that. Okay, so this template has a little more going on. It's got a UI. And play this. We just play this for the rest of the video. So let's take a look at the project. Escape gets me back home. Okay, so there are no scripts here. There was definitely game logic. So maybe this is one of those. I think I did select the GML code. Let's kind of. I would just like to try to find a simple way of adding code to an object. So I'm going to go to tutorials. And go through one of these. Make your arcade shooter in 15 minutes. We'll view that. Create a new project. So we've done that step. Okay, here we go. In the same asset browser, you want to create some objects. That's how you bring an image to life, by programming it to move, shoot, etc. Okay. So I think that was the step I was missing. Just an object, right? Okay. And okay, so this, even though I'm using the GML programming language, something that does look more like a visual scripting interface does show up for events. So maybe that's what tripped me up. But let's keep going with the tutorial. Every object needs a sprite. Otherwise, how would you see it? So I wonder if this is strictly true. Might you want some? I mean, if you need an object to execute code, might you want some code running without a visual representation necessarily? I'm curious about that. We'll have to see. Click where it says no sprite. Okay. Give it that sprite. More objects. I don't want to add more objects now. How to make a level. A level is a room asset. It's kind of what we expected. Before doing anything, resize it. How to place objects in a room. Okay, this is what I was trying to do before. Look at the left panel in the room editor. 2 layers, instances and backgrounds. Instances, your objects go here, just like cereal goes in a bowl. That's an interesting analogy. Okay. Let's try it. We'll take the cereal and we'll put it in the bowl. The cereal doesn't want to go in the bowl. Okay, objects. Oh. Click on the instances layer. Okay. So you click on the layer and then you drag it to put it there. Okay, so by default, if I take an object, I can't, I can't put it, just drag it in because I have the assets layer selected. This asset can only be applied to an instance layer. Would you like to create a new one? No, because I think I have one. So let's try that. Okay, and that one's also kind of bounded by the grid, locked to it. I'm going to remove these because I didn't really know what I was doing. And we'll just keep this instance. Okay, how to move the ship. Okay, so yeah, that's the events that we need. And we need that step event. Okay, so let's go ahead and add the step event. So I did that by opening the editor. Okay, so you've got instance, which is connected to object, this little blue line, and then events here. Okay, and I'll add that step event. And I will use the GML code, and that adds it over here. Okay, cool. So now, what they were mentioning before in the release notes is you can have multiple functions in GML code, but I'm wondering if the context here is you're already implicitly in a function, or if you need to define one. But let's find out. An object has many events. For example, you brush your teeth in the morning. I love that there are a lot of like morning-based analogies here. Cereal in the bowl, brushing your teeth, and then you breathe pretty much all day, every second, pretty much. You know, sometimes I just choose not to. All right, if you were a GameMaker object, you would brush your teeth in the create event and breathe in the step event. Okay, we're gonna program it. How to add motion. Okay, so we need to move the ship. In your step event, add the following code actions. If keyboard, check VK up, then motion, add image angle 0.1. So, image angle. Okay, so yeah, because this was like an asteroids thing. You're gonna rotate the ship and then you wanna move where the ship is pointing, and then this looks, you know, probably like the speed at which you're moving. And then here's how you could do it in the visual scripting. So let's paste that in. So image angle. So I haven't modified the angle yet, so it should just always move in one direction. Save that and play it. That was VK up. Okay. All right. So that did work. I was able to press a button and add some motion to it. Okay, I'm going to play that again, and I'm just going to hit the button, hit the key once. Okay, and so some motion was added, but it seems to have inertia. So once I add that motion, you know, it's just continuing on. If I continue to hit the key, then it's adding more motion to it. So let's stop. And I'm guessing if you wanted to move an object and you wanted to remove its inertia, you'll maybe have to check for that. So motion add says this function will modify the current direction and speed, combining the values given with the current values. Okay, so that object maintains some inertia. Okay, I also was curious about debugging because it looked fairly integrated. So I'm going to go ahead and see how the breakpoints work. If I can add a breakpoint here, toggle breakpoint, F9, and hit run. So this breakpoint should be hit whenever I press the up arrow. So I'm going to do that now. Oh, you know, I know it wasn't. Well, it wasn't because I hit the run key. run button and not the debug button. Oops. Okay, and I have to allow access. Okay, it's got a little graph going on of the FPS and memory and stuff. That's cool. So it's got like a profiler. Yeah, that's really neat. You know, a lot of tools have profiling. This is just sort of enabled by default. I like that. Okay, so let's go ahead and hit the up key. Yep, and that did trigger the breakpoint. Let's see what kind of options I've got in the debugger. I can add a new watch. I've got globals and locals. I mean, looking fairly similar to something like Visual Studio. I mean, I'm sure, you know, scaled down for this particular use case, but yeah, that's kind of impressive. Add a new watch. I don't have any local variables. I wonder if I can watch this though. 0. It may be 0. I'm assuming it's got some step into, step over. Does it have a call stack? Compile. Globals, locals. Oh, it does have a call stack. There it is. Nice. Okay, well, that's exciting. Let's go ahead and stop this for now. Okay, and the last thing I wanted to try was to build an exe of this, create executable. You need to be signed in to export to this target. Sign in to GameMaker with your Opera account. That's interesting. So they must have some kind of partnership going on there. All right, well, I'll need to do that separately, create an account, and try to make a build. But that's about as far as I got with the other engine, so I'll probably stop the video here. Okay, well, thanks for watching and sticking with me to the end of the video. I was pleasantly surprised with GameMaker from what I've seen so far. Wasn't really sure what to expect, but I enjoyed the Sprite editor that was integrated and the animator, so that seems like a nice streamlined way of making assets. I'm also intrigued by the visual scripting component. It's not something that I expected GameMaker to have, so that was a nice surprise. And then finally, the integrated debugger seemed like a nice, robust feature. I also wasn't expecting that, so definitely I make heavy use of debugging in all of my projects, or most of my projects, so yeah, that was a cool feature. All right, looks like the next one that I'll be taking a look at is RPG Maker, which got the next most votes on that poll, and so stay tuned for that. Thanks, and have a great day.